Good morning, good morning. Well, hey Badir, how you doing? Hey Joe. Jiraj, what's going on? Well, guys, I guess yesterday, I told you guys that this week would be in the hands of the speculative traders, right? And if you doubt me, I'm going to show you proof of that in just 2 seconds. First of all, this crazy thing, RES, is, well, we're spitting distance from the all-time highs, and I guess the cash markets have already made all-time highs. Overnight high and the previous day high are right at the same place. That's what they call a weak high, not a poor high. So a weak high means where the high is, and if it's right at the previous day's high, that means basically weak high, poor high. Uh, you know, basically the it basically means the same thing. It means sellers are competing here, which is good because what I was worried about when I looked at this profile last night, sometimes we do this high close and then we gap up here, and I was like, oh, thank goodness that didn't happen because that's just a mess when that happens. This is bad enough because, as you guys can see, we are trading above all of the cost basis for pretty much, the whole year, right? There's the all-time highs. Now this is adjusted, so I know my numbers might not be completely right, but there's a market technician guy that talked to me on Twitter yesterday, and I'm going to talk to him. And because, a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about try and give me advice. And this is the first time somebody's actually replied to one of my tweets. Um, but this guy's actually, he's an ex New York Stock Exchange engineer. So, and he's a Series 56 prop trader. So, he actually knows what he's talking about. He's not full of crap. So I'm going to talk to him, and it was this is the first time I've actually got. I have to say this. I have to shout out to Josh on X. Thank you for replying in an intelligent manner, right? It was like really nice to see a well-written reply, other than some knucklehead, saying I don't know how to make French fries. So that was nice for a change. That was really refreshing. Um, we are above cost basis, right? We're above cost basis. And that means I don't know what the news was that happened, but I did tell you guys that speculative traders are in charge of this market. What does that mean? Well, okay, when you look at a stock chart, right, and it does this, and it trades within a range, that's when investors buy a stock. They don't buy a stock when it's doing this, right? Because you know why? And this is something that you guys don't understand is you can't put on size in a volatile market, okay? You can't put on size in a market that is thin, right? So you folks, what the takeaway for you is, if you see profiles that are really big, really extended, if you see candles that are really huge on the daily candles, that is speculative money, right? That is speculative money. No investor who has two brain cells to rub together is going to be putting a position together at all-time highs when the market has moved up 80 points in a day or 100 points in a day. That's not how it works. How do I know this? Because I've been their executing trader, right? I trade for investors, right? I don't trade. I've never had a retail client saying, "JJ, should I buy Apple?" No, it's like, "JJ, I'm putting, 30 million shares in the 6 accounts I have with you. By the end of the month, make sure that those shares are gone and there's cash there, right? So I know how to sell a position. I know how to accumulate positions. Size. I'm not talking, you know, 200 shares of a stock. I'm talking, accumulating a million share position in a stock. And you need price stability to do that. Otherwise, your buy orders are going to drive the price up and your sell orders are going to drive the price down in a thin market. So they don't execute in thin markets for size, right? They'll use algos to try and pick away at stuff, but they're not stupid. They're not going to buy a stock at 20 times cost basis, right? So I told you guys that this market is going to be speculative, which means it's all the cowboys who are, you know, look at that, right? So we went from 68, 60, 68, 68 up to 69.82 in 1, 2, 3, 4 trading sessions. Right? That's speculative action. So what does that mean for you as the retail trader? Okay, great, JD. That means speculation. Wonderful. What does it mean? Well, it means that you guys can't screw up. Because if you do screw up, you are going to, as Russell Peters says, you're going to get hurt real bad. Okay? So you have to trade intelligently, right? This is not a week that you should be getting FOMO and all that stupid nonsense that you guys pratter on about, right? You have to be clinical. You have to be a killer in this market. So don't overtrade. Wait for your setup. And we're going to get to that in a second, right? So here's our overnight inventory. The point of control where most of the volume, that's where the inventory is priced tonight. We had a liquidation and we went right to 69.80 and 3/4. Okay? One tick from the bottom of these single prints. Now, J period usually corrects inventory lower in Globex and RTH. But this time, J period put in a poor low. So that's what a poor low is, folks. Let me just get rid of the drawings, get a little market profile. This is practical market profile. Okay? So this is market profile information that you could use to actually make money, right? Instead of looking for ledges and smedges and all this stuff that these guys go on about. That is a poor low. If I group the letters together, you'll see that this J period, and you'll see the number 1, there's one tick at the bottom of that. Now, Dalton and Stadelmeyer call this a poor low, right? What does that mean? It's how it looks. There's only one tick of excess. That means that there was buying competition at that low. Will that hold? I have no clue, right? But if you were trading and you were a fast trader and it got down here, what your trade would be a simple trade. You'd be buying 81 with your stop under the poor low and selling 83. That's it. That's the trade. That's the trade off of it. You see a poor low, you buy it, you put your stop underneath the poor low, and you sell it to strike. Now, you know there's supply here. That's why J period hit that FG low at 83.5. Boom, the seller stepped in. And you're going to see that on a 1-minute candle chart too, right? If you're not a market profile person, you don't need market profile. But the one thing that market profile will tell you is when the selling is over, right? And it'll also tell you when the selling starts. This is what we call a week high because the overnight high and the previous day high are at the same level, right? So the sellers were sitting there waiting, right? And as soon as the market got up there, they sold into it. And then on subsequent attempts, you could not get up to that 91.5 level. So how do you use that intelligently? Well, if you were trading X period, I was asleep, right? If it failed to take out 91.5, you would be shorting 90 to 91, and your stop would be here, right? Stop, short, stop, and then you'd put your bids down here to cover. Okay? That's market profile. That's practical market profile that you could use. You could put it into an actionable trade, so it's not just a bunch of BS, right? The market structure is what you're using to trade off of, and your risk is based on market structure. So if you are short here and the market goes up here, Why in God's name would you be short at 90 if the market's trading at 94? There's no seller, right? Just because you think it's overvalued means nothing, right? Your opinion is worth as much as a fart in a stiff wind, right? Your opinion is meaningless to the market. My opinion is meaningless to the market, right? So you've got to be practical when you're trading. Use simple information. Don't overanalyze. Don't correlate, right? If you are not a consistently profitable trader, use simple trades to make money, right? And develop your skill. Okay? So that's how you use market profile. That's a quick lesson in poor highs and poor lows and what they mean. Signal prints are another thing in market profile, right? We had signal prints here that filled, but they left one. They left one single print right here, right? That J to N, there's a single print at 85. And you notice that the overnight respected those buyers until later on. And it broke, came down into these singles, but it has not filled them. So now my concern is if this point of control moves down here, if we stay in this area and that shifts and we get like 3,000 contracts at one of these levels, the cost basis is going to shift lower, which means all of the stuff that we sold the suckers here, we could buy back. And if that poor low holds, then this is going to happen. And everyone's going to be trapped short under 85 and 3/4. Okay? Right? Very simple. Right? Yeah. So right now the second signal is here. But I haven't reduced the size of this because I want to show you guys those single prints. Right? And sometimes this happens in our market. The market will fill the singles in the Globex session. But if the market's up here in RTH, those singles are still valid. What does that mean in plain, simple English? Well, it means that the overnight traders got all the cheap stuff and there's no cheap inventory for sale by 9 o'clock Eastern time. You guys get that? Very simple, right? The early bird catches the worm. Or in this case, the bird with insomnia catches the worm, and sometimes the market can be up here, and this place will be bid. So don't erase them, okay? If we open underneath them, okay, then you can erase them, right? Hey, Dave, how you doing? Right? And this is what the other profile educators don't talk about. They don't tell you the simple, basic trade that you could take using the profile, right? And this is what I do. This is where I'm different. And I'm different than other educators because I'll tell you where to take the trade, what the business reason for the trade is, and when you should run the hell away from the trade when the business reason goes away, right? So very, very interesting. Now we got 15 minutes till London opens. K period is dangerously fooling around down here. I've got balance zones, and thanks R. Croy for doing my zones because she did them this morning. I've got 86/4 to 90, and that comes from this balance here. This is a distribution balance. Double it to the downside to see. I'd be looking at 78.25, which is right here. If we break, right, that's that level here, right? This level and this level are the same, okay? So people who are joining us who don't know what market profile is, it's just a fancy way of looking at a half-hour candle chart, opening it up so we can look inside it, right? And it gives us 4 pieces of information that you can actually use to make money. The rest, chuck it, right? Where is the cost basis? So how much did we pay for the stuff? Are we selling or are we buying the crap, right? Or are we putting it on sale? Number 2, poor high, poor low. Poor high, competitive selling. Poor low, competitive buying. You short the poor high, you buy the poor low, right? Number 3, signal prints. How do you know your buyer or seller is strong enough to go exactly where you expect it to go? You don't. That's why, Dave, if I was long, say I'd bought that poor low and I was long at 81 and a half, 82, my stop would be just underneath 80 and a half. And then I would put my sell orders because I know that there's going to be competitive selling. You see this white line here? See, they sold here, they sold here, they looked above, it came back down, looked above, came back down. But they've been selling there. So I know that there's a seller at 83, right? I know that there's a seller at 83. So if I buy 81, I know I have to get out at 83. Real simple. Now, this is the only trading room, and I'll say this with, it's not pride or anything, but it's the truth. I run the only trading room where the trader who's teaching you has helped people steal billions of dollars out of the US markets. Okay? I'll be very honest. I've taken 200 companies public, and my clients have ripped billions of dollars out of this. So I know this business inside and out. How do you avoid getting stopped out on both sides? You don't. Okay? Being stopped out of a trade is a business expense. You are a small business operator. So you put the trade on where the odds are likely that it will succeed. You use your sell orders or your buy orders. So if I'm long at 81 and a half, 82, and I know that there's a seller at 83, do I take that trade for 1 point? What does your common sense tell you? Right? But if you put the trade on and you get stopped out, that is a cost of doing business. That's why you use structural stops instead of a dollar amount, because if the business reason for the trade stops working, you have a business expense. There is no business in the world where you do not have any expenses that I can think of. People think that they trade and they're just going to make money without getting stopped out. You're going to be wrong. You're going to be stopped out. The quicker you admit that you're wrong and use a stop is two things, right? It's a business expense and it gives you information, okay? And how do you avoid getting stopped out on both sides? You don't trade chop, right? If you see an area like this where it's chopping around on a candles chart, right? You don't need all this, right? This is like a map of the city. This is a map of the neighborhood we're in, right? You guys get that? Right? I don't know. Nobody uses maps anymore. But this is the map of the city, and this is the map of the neighborhood you're in right now. So if you look at the neighborhood and go, oh, crap, look at this. Is this tradable? It's not. That's how you avoid getting stopped out unnecessarily. Make sense? Trading has to make common business sense. If it doesn't, don't take the trade. Right? There's no indicator. There's no volume analysis done by somebody who used to work at McDonald's or used to paint rooms for a living. None of that crap is going to help you. You have to have some common sense, right? A choppy LBF is it's too, yeah. If you have a tight chop range, Joe, don't trade it. The order flow is different in the micro and the E-mini, but they're very similar, right? I watch the E-mini and trade the micro, right? I trade the micro off the E-mini charts. I don't chart the micro at all. I chart the E-mini because what my method is, Slippy D, is I do test trades on the micro. My first 3 or 4 trades in the morning will be on the micro to see whether my brain is working. If my brain is not working, I lose 20, 30 bucks, right? And I would rather lose $30 than 300 because the trading day is 23 hours. So when you start trading, you should test the market. Every large trader tests the market, right? Nobody just goes in guns blazing with 20 E-mini contracts off the first trade. You go and test the market and see whether it's working. That's smart business, right? If you see chop like this, you don't even bother trading, right? Now look, K period went right to that J low. We got a double bottom. That is still a poor low. So what causes this? Right? What do you guys know what creates support? Support is created by unfilled buy orders, right? Or who's the one guy? What's the guy in our room? He said, what did he say? Resting resting, right? You could the buy orders are sitting here. They got a little pillow, right? When you guys say resting orders, right? They've got this little pillow and they're having a little snooze. But as soon as you tap them, they wake up and start buying, right? So support is created by unfilled buy orders, right? Oh, that's you, Alexander. I should have known, right? So support is unfilled buy orders, right? There are bids here. There are limit orders that are sitting here, and the software sees that. And as soon as it sees, you think of this level as a glass door, and the sellers are here, and they're looking at that glass door, and they see all of these people lined up outside the glass door waiting to come in. So when you see that, you raise price because they'll follow. Human beings will chase price like the way a dog chases a car, right? Whoop. So that's pretty simple, right? As a seller of size, when you see a large buyer, you walk away from that buyer. Now, the human instinct is to fill that buyer. But if you have to sell a lot of supply, you will walk away from that buyer and other people will see that support and come in and buy. And that is how you create buying. You create buying by cutting off supply. Right? That's how these idiots can sell a pair of running shoes for $1,000. Right? Because, oh, it's limited time, limited edition, blah, 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 blah. There's only 200 of these, right? So people will pay, right? Remember, this is commerce, right? If anybody tells you this is random, they don't know what the F they're talking about, right? There's nothing random when you put $1 billion to work, right? That's not how money works, right? There's nothing random about money, right? So this I wouldn't trade. I wouldn't touch this with your account, right? So now you know when to trade, when not to trade. You know what these things mean. And if you really want to learn how to do this well, spend the $30 and come into our trading room, because we will teach you how to make money, right? We don't mess around. We don't try and sell you indicators, any kind of crap like that. We teach you straight goods. This is where the buyers are. This is where the sellers are. This is how we do business in between. We have trade setups that work. We have trade setups that minimize your risk. And we help you build skill as a business person, as a trader, right? You come into my room with a mind full of mush, and I take that and I send you out thinking like a trader, right? It's the same thing. That's what I do, right? I teach people how this business works and how you fit into it, right? That's basically how we do things. Everything is simple, right? And it makes sense. Hey, Go Leverage, how do you determine stops that get run reverse to ones that run and continue? Well, you sit and watch, and you don't trade the stop. So what you do, okay, for example, right? Say if we were short here, okay? Say you're short here, okay? And there's a stop here. As the market moves down here, you know that there's going to be buy orders here. So you cover your trade before the stop. So you use the stops to get out of a trade, okay? So if you're long, for example, say you're long 80 and the market reverses off of this poor low, you know that there are going to be sellers at 83 and a quarter and there's going to be sellers at 83 half. Make sense? You don't use the stop to initiate a trade. You use the stop to exit a trade. Hey Raj, what's up? Now let's see if we can break this. Come on. Right? I'm thinking lower. Let's see if I'm right. Sometimes a market will run a stop and reverse. That's because there are orders there that are waiting for it to run that stop. So if you were short at 80 or 79 and it gets down to 74 and a quarter, cover at 75. Does that make sense? It's real simple. You don't use a stop to get into a trade because that's where the large traders are transacting at that stop. That's where you get off the train. And if you're long and it goes to an upper stop, you know that there's going to be some selling there. So you sell too. Make sense? This is how you trade in the flow of business. Because most people, they don't understand how the markets work. They don't understand the mechanics. So they're always fighting the market. They're shorting the bottom and buying the top. Right? And that's why I use these balance zones, which are basically cost basis. This is 2 times profit. This is 2 times discount. If we break this, we go into 4 times discount. So do you really want to buy a product that's at 2 times profit? No, you'd rather buy it at cost basis. So you wait till it comes back into cost basis, pops up, and then you buy it. Common sense. Simple, practical trade setups that you practice over and over and over again to where you understand the difference between one look below and fail and the other, right? And you understand, okay, this price action is like this, so this might not likely happen, right? Because business is not always the same, right? Go to Walmart and sit in Walmart for 24 hours. You will see the flow of customers is different at different times, right? Makes sense? Does this make sense to you guys? Don't leave me hanging here. Come on, guys in the room, wake up. All right. Okay. Good, good. Right? The fancy word for this is situational awareness, right? Situational awareness. Do you know what's going on around you? Right? That's why a lot of these trading instructors, and this year I'm not holding back. When people say stupid shit, I'm going to call them out. When trading instructors tell you to do things and they can't tell you why, it means they're full of shit, right? Don't trust that. If they can't explain the business reason for you taking a trade, right, there has to be a legitimate business reason for you entering a business transaction. If that does not exist, don't put your money on the line. And if you don't know what the legitimate business transaction is behind a trade, come into our room. I will work with you. Like, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed around 10, 11 at night here in the UK. So I'm available, right? I'm always around and I spend time with people, right? I, even if they're not in my mentoring program, I'll hop onto a call and try and help people out, right? And like the mentoring program is where I work with people every single day, right? Hey, what's up, Ed7? That's okay. You're learning, right? We're all learning. You learn something new every day in this business. That's why I love it. All right, come on. Oh, see how it offered under the low and nobody took it? See? Now we're offered at that overnight low. Oh, there, we broke it. That's still a poor low. We filled the single prints to the tick. We got a poor low. Let's see what London does. Come on, London. London's usually Larry the Liquidator. So London is opened. That's a double bottom, which still means that it's still a poor low with 1 tick of excess. The drama is killing me here. Don't trade this. Just let them. This is where you let the large traders work this out, right? Don't try and second guess what it's going to do, right? Oh, you're in Yorkshire. You'll have to explain the whole Yorkshire tea to me. I'm in Liverpool, greatest city in the UK. See if Raj is awake. I just say that just to poke fun at Raj because he's a Manchester United fan. Uh, See there, the Yorkshire guys are. I'm not sure about that, right? Come on, Liverpool's the best. I love my Scousers. Okay, so now we're sitting here watching the billionaires at work, right? Or at least the $100 million crew. What's the team? What's your soccer team in Yorkshire? Raj? I don't know. I don't know. I live close to Everton Stadium, but I still haven't gone to a soccer game. And why do they play soccer in winter here? Why don't they play it in the summertime? I don't get that. You kind of think of it as a summer sport, right? But I don't know. See how it's just futzing around here? This is a negotiation right here, right? This is like when I used to go shopping with my father, and they'd say the car is $20,000, and my father would go, "I'll give you 5 grand." I'm like, "Oh Jesus, we're gonna be here for hours." So that's what they're doing. They're negotiating that poor low. We had snow for a whole 90 seconds on Sunday morning, and it was gone. I live right by the water in Liverpool, by the docks. Leeds? Is that the Yorkshire soccer guys? Leeds won. Okay, so you're a Leeds guy. Leeds is a cool city. They got that interesting mall there. Is it Leeds? I can't remember. My girlfriend's a doctor, so we travel all around the UK. Still a poor low. Ah, York with the wallet. That's right. It's the Minster or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. Well, guys, it's pretty slow, right? We're letting the large traders work out this low. Just sit back, enjoy your coffee. Hey, Ed. Good to hear from you. A little volume here down at the bottom. Not enough to move the point of control down. So, folks, when you see stuff like this, don't trade it, right? Let the large traders work this out. The price action will get better as the afternoon as the morning progresses. Okay. Yeah, and I'll explain why the order flow, Michael, is slow. Okay. I'm just gonna let this kind of I'm gonna let them caramelize the onions here. Okay. Let this cook. Right. Right. And Ian, actually, you should go and read my Twitter. There's a gentleman who responded to my tweet 10 hours ago, and the guy is actually like, he's an ex-CME ICE engineer, so he actually knows his shit, which is, very rare on Twitter. Go read his stuff too. I don't want to get into that, but don't fixate on the all-time high, okay? Right? Because that's going to take up a lot of your mental. It's great the AI's got that, but don't fixate on that stuff, okay? Right? I know. It's cool to know that. But I want you to be fixating on your trade setup, Ian. Right? Remember? Right? Just keep it on your trade setup for now. Right? For now. Right? No, it's good. It's good. No, I'm not giving you crap for being smart. I just want you to really fixate on your trade setup. So the reason why order flow is slow is because nobody wants to play up here, right? You're not going to buy 5,000 contracts here. You might be short a couple of hundred, right? And see if it pops lower, right? And they're covering here anyway, right? But I'm going to take you away from this for just a second, right? Oh, I've got my other Sierra chart open here where I can watch it. And if it breaks, I'll tell you. You guys can tell me as well, right? But I want you to look at, come on, come on. Can we break 80? Right? Take a look at what happened yesterday in some of these stocks. Look at Western Digital, right? That is speculative market trading, right? That is pure speculation, right? What was the other one? Western Digital and Seagate. Where the hell's Seagate? Right? Look at this. This is not this is not institutions buying large positions. This is speculators pushing price up, right? That is not, and I told you guys the speculators would be in charge of the market this week. Look at ASML, right? We're going to need a bigger boat, right? The cost basis on ASML is under $111 if you run a volume profile on it, right? ScanDisk, is that thing still around? Okay. Like, I haven't looked at Western Digital since I had a Raptor hard drive in 2007, right? So I haven't looked at this stuff. But the speculation, the level of speculation right now is off the chart. The reason is you have an insane amount of large trading shops, big traders who have sophistication, skill, and are capitalized like you wouldn't believe, right? And they are running this market, right? That poor low is still holding, right? I do not see a short right now. Everything I know in your brain is screaming short, right? But the market is telling you, brother, at 80, there's bids. Don't short into big bids, right? Do you really want to go long? You could for a couple of ticks, but it's not worth the expenditure of capital. I don't even know what the symbol is on ScanDisk, Raj. Right? What I do when I look at stocks, I'll be very honest, but I look at dollar volume. So I like to look at stocks like, what was that piece of crap that ran yesterday? EVTV, 59 cents, and it traded $253 million. At 59 cents, the stock was up 53%, which means somebody sold at least 30% of that $250 million, right? Which means somebody like me, a liquidating trader. So there was like somebody pulled in 75, $80 million in cash yesterday off of that stock, right? That's what I look at. I go, oh, good criminals, right? Proper villains, nicely done, right? I look at stocks very differently. Now, can we break out at 82? We want to move that point of control down here, and it's going to take some time because it's kind of slow. Hey, Ed, good to have you back, brother. Welcome back, Mr. Cotter. See, you're old enough to remember that TV show, right? Most of you guys aren't. Thanks, Tib. Have a good day at work. And while we sit here continuing watching the paint dry. You know, I haven't looked at the SPY in weeks. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, yeah. We still need a couple of thousand contracts down here at 82 to move that point of control lower. Well, what else is there? I was a little busy yesterday, so I didn't even look at the news cycle. Y'all didn't go into another country last night or anything, did you? No. Oh, let me talk about Chevron real quick. Chevron did that big gap up. I think it's filled the gap, but I'm not sure. It did that big gap up, and it couldn't stay over 164.43, and it closed under 157.26. So when the U.S. pre-markets open in 45 minutes or so, watch that. I don't know if it's. I think on Chevron, if you guys are watching that, this that low is the one that you want to watch. And I think it's probably just going to go back and forth between, say, 150 and 160. We'll see. If we get above 164, you're looking for 171. And if you can get above 171, we'll look for 185. But I don't know if this buying will stick. That's the initial reaction. Then they backfill it, and so the sellers, there are sellers. There are sellers at 164, and there are sellers at 157.27. So be aware of that. Oh, thanks, Raj. Good stuff, Howard. Well done. Well done. Keep up the good work, Howard. Just keep doing what you're doing, brother. Now I've got the song from Welcome Back, Kotter going through my head. Ah. So what do you do when it's like this, right? So instead of over trading and blowing up your account, uh, you know, this is the time when you guys can read the paper, have a coffee, just chill out, that kind of thing. Just relax, right? You always want to be in a nice, relaxed state when you're not in a trade because you need to conserve that energy, you know, right? So when the opportunity comes, you can pounce on it, right? Till then, just kind of chill, sit and watch, right? That way you'll be prepared and you won't be exhausted. Now, how many of you have traded, lost money, and then when the really good trade comes around, you're like, oh crap, I missed it, right? Because you're emotionally, financially drained and physically drained too. So you missed the good trade, right? Because you've been screwing around, right? And I'm not, guys, I'm not saying that everything I say as I've done. Every mistake I talk about, I'm not immune. We all go through the same spanking machine in this business, right? We all go through the same spanking machine. You know, every mistake you guys have done, I've done, except blowing up accounts, because I don't blow up accounts, right? I have a moral thing where I cannot blow up an account, right? It's just not done, right? You got to be like the kicker in the NFL, exactly, right? You're waiting. Okay, you know those guys. What are they doing? They're drinking Gatorade, flirting with the cheerleaders. Oh, time to kick. All right, let's go. You know, right? Because otherwise, you could trade yourself. You know, it's you're just throwing wild punches and not connecting with anything, right? Juraj, you know that. And then by the time your opportunity comes, you're like, oh, it worked, right? We've all done it. We've all done it, right? Anyone who says they haven't is lying, right? We've all made the same mistakes, right? We've all made the same mistakes. Nobody is immune. Your mind is powerful, but you can watch a market for hours, get frustrated, and convince yourself it's an A plus setup. It's true. It happens to everybody, right? Because the other thing is when you're trading alone, and that's why we like the trading room. When you're trading alone, you've got nobody to bounce an idea off of. And you go on Twitter and some idiot's like saying something stupid. Here we actually have people who know what they're talking about. And if they don't, ask me, right? Wake my ass up and ask me. I'll be there. I'll try to be there, right? Unless it's like 3 in the morning, right? You start these ideas like, oh, that's a great idea. Do you guys ever see that episode of Billions where they took the Limitless drug and the whole trading floor was like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's do this. Let's corner this market. And they were going to commit like $2 billion worth of capital to some stupid idea. And then the one person who didn't take the mind-altering drug went, guys, we don't have that. So sometimes you can be there going, oh man, this is a really good setup. We should really do this, right? And there's nobody going, what are you, nuts? Right? Okay, we got to sell her at 83 and a half. I can't believe that poor low is holding. This market has the annoying habit of shutting off the supply just when everybody gets short. Right? We've all done it too. We've shorted down there. It's going to break. It's going to break. And then next thing you know, it's 6 points higher. And you're like, what the? Right? And that's because the way these markets are structured, and especially at this time of night, it's 3:20 in the morning in New York. And the European markets, they don't really trade that much volume. The New York traders, and the guys in Connecticut and where's that fancy place that Kevin lives? You know, they're all those people are the ones who trade all the huge size, right? Greenwich and I don't know, that crowd, they all trade size and they're happily asleep. They might have an assistant on a desk or have an algorithm running stuff, but they're not going to be putting on size at this time. So you just run out of sellers, right? And as soon as the sellers that are awake, as soon as they see buyers, well, never forget that they are the greediest bastards you'll ever meet, right? And you have to be a greedy bastard to make a lot of money in this market, but you got to be smart and long-term greedy. So as soon as those guys see, and girls, as soon as they see buyers, they'll start to lift price. Yeah, the European market is way too civilized. It's true, right? It's true. Well, they always say, may you live in interesting times. So much for a nice, calm New Year. Stuff's jumping off. Now, let's look at levels. If this poor low holds, ladies and gentlemen, if it holds for hours and hours and hours, the people who are long here, like there's a lot of volume here, but those people are asleep. The people who are long here will dump out, right? And it'll get absorbed by the short sellers, and then the wholesalers will build a position, and then you'll start to get bigger green candles when the shorts. Anyone who's short down here, When they realize that, uh-oh, they'll go to cover and then they'll yank the offer up and your target will be VWAP at 86. Too busy drinking Yorkshire tea? I don't know, but everyone's like really big on Yorkshire tea. I still don't know how to make tea. Every time I make tea, it tastes like soapy dishwater. So I'm doing something wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Yeah, exactly. Globex is nice and slow sometimes. It's a little slow right now, but usually you can get some good trades out of it, you know? It's just because they ran the market up to ridiculous heights yesterday that it's kind of, you know, it's kind of like a traffic jam, you know? Excuse me, I'm sniffling. I'm still trying to get rid of this stupid cold. See? Do you see the shorts covering? This candle right here is a direct result of some poor sap, right? Being short here going, oh, I better cover. And when they go to cover, the wholesalers lift the price up, right? Why do who hold on? Have the subgraph on my top chart that shows poor local lag. Sometimes it has decent reversals. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they break. Back above the top of the single prints. Very interesting. There's going to be sellers. Where's the next seller? They'll be here and then here. Nice work, Alexander. Well done. A little backfill here. So, if you use candle charts, this is where the most recent cost basis is. That equals the position. Okay? So they'll backfill down into this area. And unless there's a lot of competing sellers, this poor low will hold. 'Hmm. Yeah, just back and forth for now. The other trade that you can do, I don't like doing it when it's this close to all-time highs. But if it's really choppy and you have a bit of a larger account, what you can do is build a position. The only problem is when it breaks that level here, you're going to cut contracts and then add. So that's going to be a business expense. So you build a position here and then you sell into that strength. Tonight, I wouldn't recommend it because the risk is just too high, right? And you have to sell into that strength because you could see, we knew there was going to be a seller at 85. They front ran 85. They went up to 84 and three quarters and boom, knocked it back down, right? Because there's a position here and there's a position here. So as soon as we got into that position, these people came in and started pounding on it like whack-a-mole. Now let's see, it's going to come back down and we have 4 minutes left. Let's see if we can break that poor low, right? That's what I'm looking at. That's where my focus is in this little green box that we have, right? 90% of your time as a retail trader, probably even more, is going to be sitting and observing. And if you can sit and observe and concentrate, when you actually go to take a trade, but you have to The thing is, when you're watching, you have to kind of relax, right? You have to relax. Otherwise, you get really, really stressed out by watching a market. I know a lot of people, they're like, JJ, I can't watch. I just get stressed out and I want to take a trade. You have to like work past that, right? And, you know, you have to sit and observe and sometimes not even think about taking a trade. Like right now, I have no desire to take a trade. I have no desire whatsoever because I know the business doesn't support the kind of trades that I like to take, right? I like to get in, make a quick 3, 4 points, get out. That's not happening right now, right? It's like, people order, there's pizza, but there's pineapple on it, right? So it's not, you know, I guess if you're hungry enough, you'll eat it. But, right now, you're not that hungry. You're just sitting and waiting, right? It's going to be a very, very interesting day. I really hope we get some more liquidation, but in this market, it's very hard to count on, you know? Hey, Moran, how you doing? Good time to take the dog for a walk, eh, Moran? Oh, nice done. Well done, Trader Ed. I like trading those VWAP pullbacks when VWAP is flat. That's nice. Yeah. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to pay our bills, right? We're not looking to buy Ferraris. We just want to pay our bills. Hey, nothing wrong with a Ferrari, but or Lamborghinis for that matter. It's funny though, watching old guys getting out of a Lamborghini. Those videos are hilarious. Oh, you've got a dash out? Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't like snow. When I was a kid, we had Newfoundlands, and they loved snow. They'd go and like bury themselves in the snow. Couldn't get them back in the house. Well, folks, that's it for me this morning. Hopefully you learned something. Please come join us at the Trading Syndicate. We'd love to have you. You got an e-scooter, Dave? Okay, there you go. Young at heart. Hey, Badir. I am going to. Hey, oh yeah, there you are. Okay, that is. I didn't see the picture. Okay. Thank you for that, Ed. It's great to have you back with us. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna watch this for another 5, 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna go. I gotta get my 10,000 steps in, or my girlfriend's gonna kill me. And I will see you all. Look at that, one tick open. It doesn't know what to do. Look at this. Oh, 2 ticks. Woo! Oh my goodness. Call the newspapers. Extra, extra. Read all about it. My God. Look at that. 2 ticks on it open. Yeah, get some sleep. 3 ticks. 4. I feel like the count on 4 ticks. Ha 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 ha. All right. I'm starting to lose it. I got to get to the gym. I'll see you guys at 9 o'clock Eastern time for our next live session. Thank you for being with us. Please trade smart. If you don't know what to do, send me a message. I'm vwaptrader1 on X. This is the tradingsyndicate.org. And it's not the Trading Syndicate, it's just tradingsyndicate.org is our website. And we'd love to see you. Thank you so much. Be safe out there. And we'll see you in a few hours. Bye for now.